look at this. It's a math problem. Not only that, it's a complicated math problem. So many lines. I don't like them. Look at all these lines. Not only that, we have to find the measure of the angles. Well, let's just get it done. So the angle we want to find the measure of is HKG. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. We start at the H, go to the K, and down to the G. And I'm going to make that look neater. So we have angle HKG. What other information does it give us? We know that IKF is a right angle. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that as such. We have IKF is a right angle. And because IKF is a right angle, whoopsie, and we know that DKI here is a straight line, DKI must equal 180 degrees. And since 180 minus 90 equals 90, we know that this angle over here, angle DKF, is also a right angle. So we have two angles. What else does it tell us? Well, we know that HKG is congruent to FKG. So maybe if we can solve for those, we'll be able to find our HKG here. So I'm going to mark that. HKG, right here, is congruent to FKG, which is right here. And lastly, we can see that the measure of DKE, right here, is congruent to HKI. So we have DKE, and I'm using two angle markers this time to differentiate it from these guys. DKE is congruent to HKI. So now that we have all this information, what can we do with it? Well, we also know that the measure of HKI right here is 20 degrees. So I'm going to mark that HKI is 20 degrees. And just write us a little 20. And we know that DKE is congruent to HKI, so DKE also has to equal 20. Oops, not 28. And we also know, of course, that these guys are congruent. So how can we find this angle here? EKF. Well, since we know that DKF is 90 and that DKE is 20, we can subtract 90 minus 20 to get 70. So now we know that EKF over here is 70. What's next? Well, since we know that DKF and IKF are congruent because they're both 90 degrees, and that DKE and IKH are congruent because they're both 20 degrees, and also because it's given. We marked those earlier. Isn't it reasonable to say that perhaps this angle here, the 70-degree angle, is also congruent to the sum of these angles here? Because 90 minus this angle is 20, and 90 minus these angles is also 20. So we know that the measure of FKG plus GKH is 70. Now I'm going to erase all this for your convenience. There we go. I'd say that's a bit neater. So since the sum of these angles is 70 degrees, well, we know that. But we also know, because it's given, that these angles are congruent. So that means that this angle plus this angle equals 70. And if they're congruent, that means they're the same. So let's say that the measure of this angle that we want to find which is HKG, so it's actually this one, HKG. Call that X. But since HKG is congruent to GKF, GKF is also X. So we can set up an equation. X plus X equals 70. X plus X is the same thing as 2X equals 70. And now, to solve for the equation, we have to divide both sides by 2. So you can do it individually by putting each side of the equation over 2, or you can do it like me, and I just put the whole thing over 2. So 2x divided by x is just x, and 70 divided by x is, I'm going to do some calculator woo-woo right here, it is 70 divided by 2 is 35. So we know that x equals 35 degrees. That's our answer. How can we check our answer? Let's try. We've now found the measures of all our individual angles. We also remember from the beginning that a line, like this one, equals 180 degrees. So to check our answer, we can add up all the individual angle measures and see if they add up to 180. So we have 20 plus 20, which is 40, plus 70, which equals 111, plus 35, plus 35, this is 70, this is 110, and 110 plus 70 equals 180. So we know our answer is right. Now you can easily tackle these problems, so go get them done.